Welcome to the Wizard's Lair, an unofficial Wizards of Waverly Place podcast. My name is Daphne, I'm with my husband Xander, and we're going to be going through one of our favorite shows, episode by episode, and we hope you'll join us on our magical journey.
Absolutely. This has been a long time coming. We wanted to do this podcast for a long time because we've watched the series a few times now.
Especially since it's been on Disney+.
Yeah, and so ever since then, watching the episodes kind of in order back to back, whenever you want, you start to pick up on things. And obviously we've all watched the show since we've all, been younger. But when you're older, when you rewatch it, you notice different things.
Exactly.
And the show means a little bit more to you. And so we figured, well, you know what? Since there's a podcast for everything at this day and age, why is there not a Wizards podcast?
Yeah, we honestly searched the internet for the longest time just trying to find another Wizards dedicated podcast, but we couldn't. There were some Disney Channel specific ones that had Wizards episodes, but not a full dedicated podcast, and we felt like it deserved one.
Yeah, and I think you've even told me about some podcasts out there that are, other podcasts.
Other shows, yeah.
That are dedicated to TV shows that go episode by episode.
Yeah, definitely.
And I just loved that idea, loved that concept. And because you and I are such big Wizards fans, and again, there isn't really another Wizards dedicated podcast, it's like, let's just go in and let's restart this show for the umpteenth millionth time.
There's so much to talk about.
And go through it and just talk about all there is to talk about. The characters, of course, the magic, and
the lore alone.
The lore, yeah. And because I've started to, over the years, I have all these different theories as to, why this happens, or, why is that this way, or, just all this different stuff. And, of course, this show isn't meant to be like, Star Wars or Harry Potter,
right,
where everything is fleshed out. This is just a kid's show, but you know what? It's kind of fun to just take it to that next level.
Yeah.
And so hopefully, if you're listening, you'll want to do that as well. Kind of listen to us talk about the show, and you'll want to offer your thoughts. Of course, if you're listening on YouTube, you can leave your comments in the comments below, and join the discussion and talk with us about why you love the show and how you got started. I think Daphne and I want to start out by talking about how we got into the show, or just Disney Channel period, and then we'll start to dive into the actual episode. Of course, the first episode is Crazy 10-Minute Sale, but
a classic.
An absolute classic right out of the gate. So we will get to that in a minute. But first, so how were you introduced to Disney or Disney Channel or Wizards or?
So my thing with Disney Channel is I've always been a fan, but growing up I never had cable or anything like that at home, so I never got to watch Disney to the extent that I wanted to. Now, we had a satellite channel, I think it was ABC maybe, that on Saturday mornings would play some Disney Channel shows. So that got me into Sweet Life and That's So Raven, Hannah Montana, and eventually I think they did play some Wizards episodes as well. By the way, if you hear our cats in the background, I am sorry. It's just inevitable. But then I would also, rent whole seasons of the show at the library and watch it at home, that kind of thing. But yeah, it's been so great since Disney Plus came out that we've been able to go back through and watch every single episode. Because even though I know you had seen them all, there were quite a few episodes I had not seen until, just these past couple of years since we've been able to stream them. What about you?
So I actually grew up more of a Nickelodeon kid. My brother and I watched more Nick shows like SpongeBob, of course, and The Amanda Show and Drake and Josh and those kind of shows. And we had step siblings who they were Disney kids. Yeah. They grew up watching a lot of Disney shows. And of course, at the time, it would have been, Sweet Life and That's So Raven, Lizzie McGuire, Life with Derek.
Can't believe I forgot to mention Lizzie. I love Lizzie.
Lizzie, yeah, Life with Derek. Those were some of the shows that were on around then. But the new shows in town were, Hannah Montana and, of course, Wizards. And so those were the first shows, along with Sweet Life, that I started watching. And with shows like Hannah Montana and then iCarly on Nickelodeon, I had already heard about those shows and, when they were being promoted and marketed. But Wizards, I did not know about. I did not see any commercials for new upcoming show on Disney Wizards. I did not see anything. I just remember walking into the living room and my stepsister was just already watching it. She was watching Wizards and I was like, well, what's this? And she goes, it's the new show Wizards of Waverly Place. And so I was like, oh, okay, well, I don't know what that is, so we'll just watch it. But by the end of that episode, I was hooked on that show. And from then on, I was like, with or without my sister, I am watching this show because I just knew from right then and there it would be a fantastic show. And it's awesome because it's very fitting because that episode that I watched, the very first episode, was the Crazy 10-Minute Sale.
Yeah, it's a strong first episode.
Which was the first episode.
Yeah.
So I didn't watch it when the show first aired, but the first episode I did watch was
Season 1, episode
Season
1.
1, episode 1.
I love that.
So I watched that one, and then I think there was a few other ones that I watched, and yeah, again, I was just immediately hooked. So I thought that, it's and even today, it's still one of my favorite shows.
Oh, absolutely.
You and I, it's like our comfort show.
Absolutely. I can't even count how many times we've watched it now. We had to stop our watch through where we were on, maybe season 3 or something like that?
Yeah.
To start back over at season 1 for the pod, and I'm totally fine with that.
Absolutely. Yeah.
It never gets old.
It's one of those shows that I could just keep watching forever and ever, and it doesn't really seem to get old. The comedy, the dialogue, the characters, it's all fantastic. And that's kind of the point of this show, is to just dissect all that there is to talk about when it comes to Wizards of Waverly Place. So let's go ahead and dive into the first episode, which again is Crazy 10-Minute Sale. In this episode, Alex is trying to get away from Wizard Lesson so that she can go to the Crazy 10-Minute Sale, which is, I guess, this annual sale where everything in the Suburban Outfitters store is...
Love that, by the way.
Yeah, Suburban Outfitters. It's perfect, yeah. So everything in the Suburban Outfitters store is, like, dirt cheap.
Yeah.
And so all the teen girls, they all go crazy. They all want to, get their allowance and go to the sale.
And she wants to beat Gigi is the big thing. Getting all the cool clothes before her little arch nemesis, Gigi.
Absolutely.
Who, by the way, is she only in the first season?
She may be in a couple episodes in the second season because there is one with Dean. Remember when they go into her diary?
Yes.
She's in there, but she isn't really...
She kind of fizzles out after
She
that.
fizzles out, which I guess kind of makes sense because the whole... there being a bully character is kind of a trope.
It is, yeah.
But I noticed
not really
that,
necessary once the show's been established, I guess.
Yeah, and Alex becomes the bully. If you think about it, how can there be a bully to the bully when
Honestly,
Alex, becomes the bully?
She does get meaner, doesn't she?
I wonder. Yeah, she does get meaner immediately. But I'm wondering if maybe in the first season they wanted Alex to be, more of the outcast,
right?
Which she is kind of like on the, she kind of does her own thing. She doesn't really get involved in any cliques. You can't really fit her into any clique. But definitely in the first season, in the first episode, she's kind of like the social outcast, whereas Gigi is like the popular kid.
Right.
But yeah, you're right, that does kind of fizzle out very, very quickly. And the show kind of focuses on other things. But so let's go ahead and talk about the Crazy 10-Minute Sale a little bit more in depth. This episode first aired October 12th, 2007.
Oh, 7?
That was, I think there was a post recently from the cast that was talking about 15 years, how it was 15 years ago. One of the other reasons why this podcast was like, okay, let's go, green light, because it's like, it's been 15 years. And it's such a monumental thing where it's like, hey, this is the perfect time.
Yeah, and Selena
podcast.
Gomez just the other day posted a picture of her in New York.
Oh my gosh.
Next to the Waverly Place sign, and we lost it. We love Selena, and just to see her even talk about Wizards or even mention it just makes me so happy. I love it.
Yeah, and I immediately reposted it onto our Instagram. So if you're on Instagram, follow the Wizards Lair podcast on Instagram. That's where we're going to be posting any updates on episodes and just all Wizards content in general. So when Selena posted that, I was like, oh my gosh, immediately, got to screenshot that and repost that, because anytime she mentions Wizards is fantastic.
And still a huge fan of her acting and her music.
Absolutely. Selena is amazing. I think she's always maybe a little bit surprised when she sees the fan reaction.
Yeah. I don't think she understands.
Wasn't she on Fallon that one time and they played a snippet of Billie Eilish's song back to back with the Wizards theme?
Yes, because it was inspired by it, yeah.
And then the crowd was like singing the theme song, and Selena's like, wait, what? How are you all singing that theme song? It's like, that means a lot. Like,
that is a good segue, because I actually was going to mention here at the beginning the theme song.
Oh,
because it's one of my favorite Disney Channel theme songs ever. And
it's hard to sing.
There's some good ones, but it's honestly top 5. I think maybe the only other Disney Channel show that beats it is Hannah Montana.
Hannah Montana's theme song is tough to beat.
It's almost impossible.
It's tough to beat just for any show, period.
Yeah, but the Wizards one is so special and so unique and so unlike any other show. Just the mystical, I can't even describe it.
Especially at the end.
Yes.
That little, that's iconic. Everybody knows that.
The best.
So, this show aired first October 12th, 2007. The show was created by Todd J. Greenwald. And when the episode opens, where are we at? the Wizard's Lair.
Yep.
Exactly where we're at right now,
Perfect.
in the Wizard's Lair. And, of course, Jerry is teaching the wizards a wizard lesson for that day, which is the duplication spell, Edgebonoutoosis. It's the first spell used. It is the first
line.
The first line in the whole season, in the whole series.
Can I talk about that spell for a second?
Sure, absolutely.
Okay.
That's the whole point of this podcast. Absolutely.
So I don't know if any of you noticed, probably you didn't when you were watching it as a kid, but rewatching this as an adult, that first spell that we hear, Edgebonoutoosis, is a joke about the band U2. Because two of the members of the band U2 are Edge and Bono. So the Edgebonoutoosis is brilliant. And I'm assuming some of the writers are a fan. But I just thought that was a fun little U2 Easter egg right at the beginning of episode 1.
And it's funny because I pride myself on being a huge fan of rock and roll and heavy metal and all that. And I did not know that. You were the first one to point that out to me. Great. And my mind was completely blown because I just thought it was one of those random, things
just
you
random
make up.
Syllables.
Yeah, the writers make up some random word for a children's show spell.
Yeah.
But the fact that they put that much kind of, thought behind it is so nice to know. And the fact that it was the first spell and the first line is awesome. So thank you for showing that to me or kind of bringing that to my attention because I had no idea that was the reasoning behind the spell, Edgebonoutoosis.
Yeah.
I can't get it out of my head. And I think there's even another, we'll get to it in another future episode, there's actually another spell that uses a rock band.
Oh, really?
Yes.
I can't think of it off the top of my head, so I'm excited to encounter it.
It's in season 1, so we will get to it within the next several episodes. But the writers definitely must have been classic rock fans.
They had
Don't they? Isn't Billy Joel mentioned at some point?
Is he?
I think so. I think Jerry or Alex, one of the two, in the living room. I can see it in my head, almost picture it. But it's either Billy Joel or Billy Idol or Billy Squire. One of the Billies.
One of the Billies.
One of the Billies.
I believe you, but I don't remember that.
Anyway, but yeah, no, I love that when the show has little fun things like that where they put little Easter eggs in there, and that's definitely one of the more special ones. So yeah, so we hear Edgebonoutoosis. That's the duplication spell, and of course, Justin's rabbit barks like a dog.
Yes, it does.
Which tells us...
He was thinking about a dog for some reason.
Yes, I don't know why, but Jerry informs us that obviously concentration and focus matters when reciting a spell. Yeah, and I find that interesting that, what you're thinking about can influence the magic that you're using.
It's not just the words. If you're
distracted, it's not just the words. The spell itself is more of like a training wheel. I think they mentioned that in another episode too. But it's more of a training wheel. And it matters what you're actually focusing on.
Yeah,
what
your intention.
What your intentions are, yes. I'm thinking of another spell we're going to get to where the intention matters or the origin of the spell plays a big part in the actual spell itself.
Absolutely.
And I love exploring that.
And that reminds me so much of Harry Potter. Obviously,
I was going to ask, because you're the Harry Potter resident
obviously
expert around here.
There's a lot of Harry Potter references in this show, and I'll definitely be pointing them out as I see them along the way.
Please do.
But just that concept in general definitely checks out within the world of Harry Potter as well. Even just the unforgivable curses like Avada Kedavra. You can't just do it. You have to actually mean it and be focusing on it for it to work. So, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I also wanted to point out that within the first few seconds, I'm sorry, I gotta say it.
Absolutely.
Within the first few seconds of this show opening, we get, a sex joke from Max.
For real, from Max.
So what does he say exactly about the rabbits?
Well, yeah, I'll say they're duplicating rabbits, and Jerry's making a big deal about how awesome it is that, hey, look, we can use magic to duplicate rabbits, and Max is like, well, wait 5 minutes, they'll do it themselves.
Yeah, this comes from Max, the youngest character on the show.
Yeah, which is kind of funny because, again, lots of kids shows will have these, more hidden jokes, so that
for the parents,
for the parents that are watching. That one I think is pretty blatant and pretty obvious.
It's pretty obvious, but it's still funny.
But it's still funny. And if anybody out there is wondering, we're not going to be vulgar on this show or anything, but things like that may come up.
Oh yeah, we're still going to point out the things that we see.
We're going to point out everything that we notice in the show, and so that was one of the things that you maybe back in 2007, when you're 12 or whatever, you don't notice that, but when you're in your 20s or something, you're like, okay, haha, I see what you did there.
Yeah.
So obviously, since this is the first episode, we're going to meet some key characters in the show, and one of the characters that we meet is Harper. And at this point in the show, Harper does not know that Alex is a wizard.
That's true, she doesn't. She doesn't find out for a minute.
She finds out at some point, I think in season 2 maybe. But
that's crazy to me, because in my head, like, I always thought she found out sooner. And I think the reason I thought that is because I'm mixing this plot up with Hannah Montana, where Lily finds out immediately first episode, and then Oliver second episode, right?
Correct.
And so in my head, Harper finds out a lot sooner, but no, I mean, she goes a big chunk of this show without knowing. Which is kind of odd, because it's a fun twist to the show.
Yeah. But it's almost stressful with this first episode, her trying to keep that from her, because so Alex is trying to get away from the wizard lesson, but she never calls it the wizard lesson. No, she calls it a family commitment?
Yes, family commitment.
And it's funny because Harper never, asks why, which I guess she's being respectful of her privacy, but it's well, that's so vague. What do you mean family commitment?
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Weird.
Yeah. So Harper has no idea that Alex is a wizard, even though they've been friends since, kindergarten?
I think so,
It sounds like they've been friends pretty much their whole entire life.
Right.
And so Harper at this point doesn't even know that Alex is a wizard. And Harper, of course, would be known as the fashionista of the show. She likes to create all these wacky outfits and stuff. And so she's kind of like that in this first episode, but way more subtle.
I did notice that her outfit was so much more laid back, or the two outfits that we see were so much more laid back in the first episode. I think she hadn't started making her own clothes yet, because they just seemed kind of quirky and colorful clothes that you could still buy.
Stuff, yeah.
Like some rainbow stuff, some flowers, little strawberries, but still pretty harmless. But I'm fast forwarding in my brain to her wearing that marker dress that she made, and all the food stuff. So I'm excited to see her style evolve throughout the show.
Yeah, obviously it is episode 1, so the characters aren't quite fleshed out yet, but that's kind of fun. That's one of the fun things about going back and restarting a show, is going back to episode 1 and seeing where everything started.
Exactly.
And so, we're seeing, the very beginnings of Harper's character, and then, of course, we talked about Gigi and the wannabes, who are just basically, they're just mean bullies. Also, since kindergarten, it sounds like for just as long as Alex and Harper have been friends, they've been enemies with Gigi.
Yes, because allegedly in kindergarten during nap time, Gigi spilled juice on Alex's mat and told everyone that she wet herself. So that's where all of the drama in their relationship came from.
And it's followed her up until this point, which is kind of silly.
They're in high school, right? Are they freshmen? I never really thought about that. Where they are in school in the first season.
Oh, they have to be freshmen, because doesn't she have her quinceañera at very early in the show?
I think so.
And I was around 14 or 15 when I was in freshman year, high school. So she's either freshman or sophomore.
Yeah. Speaking of Gigi, this is just a random small thing, but at one point when they were talking about Gigi, they are talking about how they don't want to say her name because they hate her so much, and so they're like, "Oh, well, we're gonna say it backwards," and Harper says, "Well, Gigi backwards is still Gigi." No, it's not.
It's no, not technically. If you're actually spelling the name, it'd be Ig. It'd be Ig. But they must be thinking of just the letters. But her name is not Gigi with just 2 letters.
Right.
So I don't understand where that even comes from. So Teresa, we also meet Teresa, the mother.
I love Teresa.
Teresa is fantastic. So she helps at the substation. Obviously, I don't know if she co-owns it with Jerry, but they both manage it and run it.
Yeah, definitely.
It's the family business. And so her role in the episode is that she's trying to also go to the 10-minute sale to try and get something for Alex because she can't go.
Right.
Which I think is really nice and really
very
sweet.
Yes.
Yeah, very sweet. And so she's also wanted to hang out with Harper. And in classic mom fashion, you want to hang out with her teen friends.
Yeah.
And I love the part in the store when Harper sends Teresa on a wild goose chase to get tappuccinos or whatever.
Tappuccinos.
Which I guess is just what they say, steamed milk
and tap water.
Disgusting.
Teresa said it was surprisingly delicious, though.
I'm not trying it.
I don't believe it.
I don't believe it, and I'm not going to give it a chance. But anyway, so Teresa goes all over Waverly Place to try and find tappuccinos. Somehow does. Here's what I think happened. I think somebody
made that up.
I think somebody, she said, "Do you have tappuccinos?" And they said, "If we say yes, we can just make something up and get some money."
Yeah.
And they said, "Yes, we do." And they said, "Well, tappuccino. What's a tap? Let's see, tap water, and then we'll put some hot milk in there.
Perfect.
Because that's what coffee has. You put some hot milk or some cream or whatever. Just put some hot milk and some tap water. Sell it to this lady who's
sounds nasty.
Acting frantic, wanting tappuccinos, and we'll just sell it to her for $7 a thing.
Yeah, she
whatever.
obviously didn't know what it
And
was,
she
so they
did.
could have done anything.
Absolutely. And here she comes, Tappuccino. And what does Harper do? She slaps the thing out of her hand, just looks her dead in the eyes, and slaps that tray of Tappuccinos.
Like, sorry.
And says sorry. And then shoves clothes in her hands and just pushes her away.
Yep.
That, to me, is still just comedic gold.
It is amazing.
I loved that.
Also
that to me was hilarious.
Alex diving into the pile of clothes there as well.
Oh, yes. I'm going back in. Yeah, no, that's hilarious. Good comedy. This show is absolutely hilarious. So we also have Jerry, who is trying really hard to be a good dad and a good magic coach.
Yes.
And I think it's really nice because I got to thinking and I was like, Jerry does this in his spare time.
Yeah, he still owns a business and runs it.
Jerry owns a business, runs a business, works probably more than 8 hours a day, 40 hours of work, probably puts in 60 hours plus a week.
Yeah.
And still every week, every couple days or whatever.
I think it's Tuesdays and Thursdays.
Tuesdays.
It's the Wizards class.
Oh, nice.
Yes.
Okay, for sure. Good. Yeah. So twice a week, still plans and teaches an entire wizard lesson for his kids, which is, I think, really awesome.
I love Jerry.
He's
a great TV dad.
He is a great TV dad.
Both Jerry and Teresa are just amazing TV parents. They are so funny.
They're hilarious.
And they're those kind of TV parents that are like kind of bad parents sometimes,
yes,
but in a really funny, relatable way.
Yes,
and
the way they
them.
wrote those characters were hilarious.
Cool.
I mean, we're gonna see plenty of just moments. I'm thinking of one right now. Oh my gosh, it's so funny. So yeah, we're gonna see plenty of moments in the show with these parenting. But I do think it's nice that Jerry, goes out of his way to try to be a good dad and teaches them magic in his spare time, teaches them right from wrong, and disciplines them. And then at the end, he gives Alex her punishment and says, "Take your punishment and then duplicate it."
Mm-hmm.
And 1 week into 2, and then 2 becomes 4.
Yep.
And I don't know, that whole bit they did there was hilarious, I thought.
So we also have Max, the youngest Russo sibling, who looks so young in this first episode. It's crazy. Since he was the youngest one, you really get to see him grow up throughout the series, which I love. But he's, the goofy, kind of dumb younger brother who is not the brightest and not the best at magic, but is hilarious.
The silliest, for sure.
Yes, I love Max.
I do too. And in this episode, there was one thing that he said that kind of threw me off guard. So he says they're standing in the prep area of the substation, not in the lobby where the customers are, but not in the wizard lair, or they're in that the kitchen area. And Max says, "I can't wait to get my wand so I don't have to use spells." And
yeah, that was confusing.
Yeah, and Jerry's like, no. You always will need spells, Max. It's just that the wand helps you cast spells.
Right.
That to me was so funny that they actually cleared that up. That, again, spells. They said it earlier too when they were talking about concentration.
Yeah. And
how your focus and what you're thinking about matters when casting the spell. And then of course, you have your wand which aids you in casting spells, but using a wand doesn't mean that you just don't need spells at all.
Right.
So that was kind of funny that Max would say that. I feel like if anything,
you want both. You want a spell and a wand to make it even more focused.
Absolutely. And then one of the wands we see is Jerry's vintage wand from 77.
77.
He calls it black licorice or whatever. There was some fancy model name, but all I got was black licorice, and that made me laugh.
And it just looks like a classic, fake magician, top hat, and then pulling the bunny out of the hat, like that kind of black wand with the white tip.
Yeah.
I think at one point Max says, "This looks like it came out of a cereal box."
Yeah. Oh my gosh,
and
that was so funny.
True.
And Max breaks it.
He does. Yes.
He sits on it and snaps it in half, which is terrible.
It is sad.
This is so sad. And then we actually get to see Jerry throw his first tantrum after that.
Yes, and the Jerry tantrums are my absolute favorite, and I love the moments.
Alex wand!
Yes, exactly.
It's so funny.
And there's moments later on in the show where we get to see Justin do the same thing, and I thoroughly enjoy it.
Yes,
I can't wait.
Absolutely. And that's really good writing, too, because, they're father and son, so you can see
that's where he got it from.
There's the influence. Yeah, no, you're right. Justin.
Speaking of Justin, that's another character that we meet in this first episode, the oldest Russo sibling. The one who does everything by the books. Very smart, very...
brainy.
Yeah.
Obviously, he was picking on Alex for
yeah,
leaving.
I think he was just trying to get Alex caught because Alex tried to duplicate herself.
Oh yeah, he wasn't covering for her, was
No.
he? Max was trying to because he thought he was going to get some sneakers out of it.
Exactly.
Or
Yeah.
so,
He had an incentive, but
Justin's like, no, I'm not having any of this because again, he's by the book, so he's not going to do anything that involves doing something bad.
yeah, and he's also not going to help Alex hardly ever. Although he ends up having to a lot in the show, as we will see.
Yes, well, and also we kind of see how mischievous the brothers can be.
Oh, absolutely.
Because when left alone, what do? They get Max's E-wand, whatever it is, and use the E-mimic feature to control Alex. Which, no, they control the dummy.
Right, but they don't know that that's also controlling the real Alex.
Right, which is, of course, very humorous in and of itself. But yeah, so Alex's grand plan to get out of Wizard Lesson is to use the very spell that Jerry taught her to duplicate herself and then, escape from, leave the Wizard Lesson, go to the store, get this jacket that she so desperately needs.
Yes.
That basically just, I don't even think she wants the jacket. I just think she wants to beat Gigi to the jacket.
Exactly.
The jacket's more symbolic than it is like, I want this for fashion reasons or because I want it, because it's nice or it fits me or whatever. Yeah, there's definitely an ulterior motive there. But Alex's grand plan is to use this duplicated version of herself to fool Jerry into thinking that she's there when she's really not. And then she has to end up hiding from Teresa while she's there too, which again, just more humor there. But I don't think that E-mimic feature should be a feature at all.
No.
Because Max is like, how old, 12?
Yeah, 11 or 12. Very
11
young.
or 12, yeah. And he has a wand that has a new feature that lets you basically control the motions of other people, basically, right? That's what it looked like.
Well, yeah,
While you hitting yourself, he's using the wand to mimic.
But he was doing that to what he thought was... I don't know, it's confusing, because I thought he was just doing that to the duplicate version of her, but somehow that actually happened to her as well.
He is, but I'm talking about the fact that what if that wasn't duplicate Alex? What if he did that to Justin?
Will that work?
Yes,
okay.
It's the e-mimic feature.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what the feature does. It mimics. It allows you to control people.
Yeah, that's messed up.
I don't think that should be a feature on anybody's wand.
No, that's literally, if you think about that, that's literally the Imperious Curse from Harry Potter. Like, being able to control somebody, that's an unforgivable spell.
Oh my gosh, that is so funny. See,
and it's
I'm
just
not
a casual thing that comes up in this episode.
Oh, it's a slapstick joke.
It's funny.
Oh my gosh, no, I never even considered that. I forgot about the Imperious Curse. See, that's good. I'm gonna need you to be the residential Harry Potter expert around here, because there's a lot of parallels, but then again here we have something that's a little bit not really a parallel. It's kind of silly. They're using the Imperious Curse as a special feature on a wand.
They also they expose magic on this show every single episode, pretty much.
Yeah.
And I can't believe Harper didn't figure things out in this first episode, because they're at the sale and Alex is just, first of all, she's dancing uncontrollably, and she obviously has no control over it.
Yes.
But then she starts spinning real fast like a tornado.
Like a real actual tornado.
Actual tornado, flying around the place. Everyone can see her.
There's clothesline everywhere.
And yet no one seems to think this is particularly unusual.
Everyone's like, oh, look at that.
I don't understand why. It blows my mind.
What's she doing?
That's the first example I saw in episode 1 of them exposing magic.
Yeah, and we're going to track that too. There's
Absolutely.
a few things we're going to track. One of them is just how often they blatantly expose magic. Because that's the number one wizard rule.
It's supposed to be a big deal, but it's really not.
Preserve magic and to keep the identities of all wizards hidden.
Right.
To preserve magic and the knowledge of magic. And here we are, first episode, you got Alex looking like a tornado, a hurricane flying through Suburban Outfitters, and no one bats an eye or says a word.
Yeah.
Which is absolutely ridiculous. I guess it's New York, and I guess people in New York are just unfazed by most things. Anywhere else, this would have been an immediate what?
Another thing that I want to track, I'm looking up the actress's name right now because I want to know who she is.
Amanda.
Oh, you know?
Amanda.
Is that her actual name?
Yes.
So you guys will know what I'm talking about.
Amanda Tepe.
Yeah, okay, you already have it. That's amazing. So, this actress who is in this show repeatedly, but always as a different character. We see her in this first episode as an employee at Suburban Outfitters, and she just has this deadpan look on her face all the time. She has this dry humor. She's so funny, and I just love her. She's always an employee at a random place, And sometimes it's in the mortal world, and sometimes it's in the wizard world. So I think it's clear it's not necessarily supposed to be the same person. Or maybe it is. I don't know. I love her.
I love it. I think it's great. And yeah, so I did, obviously it's the first episode, so nobody could have predicted it. But once you start seeing her a few times, you're kind of like, wait a minute, is this the same chick? She must just either work a lot of jobs or she just gets fired from a lot of jobs.
Yeah.
But I'll be honest, my theory is that she is a wizard.
You think?
My theory.
Well, I mean, we've seen her in the wizard world, so if she's supposed to be playing the same character for all of these cameos, then yeah, she has to be, right?
Yeah. Well, she might have different names. Her character might have different names.
She does have different names
in the show.
But I feel like she's in disguise.
She works as a security guard in the art museum. She works as a hot dog vendor.
Stand, yes.
And then we see her in Volcano Land or whatever in the wizard world.
That one is so good.
That's when we see her in the wizard world. And that is when I said, whoa, wait a minute, stop.
Yeah.
She's a wizard. I think that's her last appearance in the show, I'll be honest.
You think?
I think that's her last appearance in the show. But I was like, she has to be a wizard. Because up until this point, you just think that she's just a random employee at all these places. She works at the hotel.
Yes.
Hotel Flog, do Flog, or whatever the heck that long, stupid name is. We'll get to it, but it makes me laugh. But anyway, so, yeah.
Do you think she's like a wizard that's, maybe she's undercover and she is stationed to like...
To watch the Russos?
Watch the Russos and make sure that they don't mess up and expose magic, which she does a terrible job because they do it all the time.
Let's take it one step further. What if she's Professor Crumbs?
Oh my gosh.
What if it's Professor Crumbs doing the same spell that Kelbo uses to become Shakira?
No way. That's my new favorite theory.
I never thought about it that way. But what if it's Crumbs?
I love that.
What if it's Crumbs and he's secretly, just watching over the kids and their everyday... Because that when he talks to Alex, the hot dog vendor... it's Max.
Talks to Max, yeah.
And then Volcano Land, I think Justin gets sent to Volcano Land.
Yeah.
But then maybe it's Alex who talks to her. I'm not sure. But either way, I don't know. There's a hidden thing there.
That's a fun theory. Let us know what you think in the comments.
That's a fun little theory we could go with there. But anyway, so let's keep it moving because I think we're moving on now to just more general ideas about the show. And one thing that I appreciate about this show and this first episode is that this episode of this show has probably more VFX shots than any other Disney Channel show.
Oh, definitely. Easily.
Because there's not really a whole lot of, spectacular things happening like this in other shows.
Not really. I mean, like, the only other one I can think of that, or the only other two I can think of that have somewhat magic-adjacent themes would be That's So Raven, maybe, but, like... For that, it's just visions, and it's just like one specific thing that happens.
One trend, eye.
Yeah, which isn't that big a deal. And then, if we're going way back, Phil of the Future probably has some stuff like that, but definitely early days and definitely a little more clunky than the Wizard stuff.
Yeah, and even Wizards is pretty clunky at times. I mean, it's obviously a Disney Channel budget, or a Disney Channel TV show budget for a kid show. But just in this first episode alone, I mean, you have the use of magic wands, the glowing tip on the wands. You have the classic, using two of the same actor or actresses in one shot. You have two Selena Gomez, and then you have the double, the duplicate. Whenever it gets pushed to the ground, it does that glitch effect.
Oh, yeah.
There's that. So, there's more VFX shots than most Disney shows in this show, which, is something to kind of appreciate. We'll see more, VFX as we go on. But is there anything else you had that you wanted to talk about?
I mean, I took some notes, and some of it, or most of it, we've already talked about. Some of it is just completely unimportant but funny. So one of the things that made me laugh was when Max said that he wanted... I'm sorry. He said he wanted to use this Edgebonoutoosis spell to duplicate himself so that he can give himself a wedgie. He says he wants to know what it feels like, but wants to get it from someone he can trust.
That is probably the most Max thing I've ever heard.
Oh my gosh.
That is hilarious. Yeah, no, that makes sense. That's something Max would say.
Yeah.
Where he says it and your head's hurting. You're like, wait, what?
I love him.
You want to know what it feels like, but you want to get it from somebody you can trust. So he's saying that he would duplicate himself and then have that duplicate give himself a wedgie.
Oh, that's actually a really good point. I'm pretty sure what he said
was... He said that he would give the clone a wedgie.
Well, I think he said give myself. So it could go either way.
I was like, because if you give the duplicate a wedgie, the duplicate's going to feel it, not you. So he would have to give it to you, but why would you want to do a self-induced? I don't know. That's Max.
It's Max.
Typical,
we don't need
preteen
to
boy.
get too much into Max's brain.
Yeah, no, that's a losing battle right there. Trying to get inside Max's brain. So one thing I did notice was that the ending scene, where the credits are rolling after the episode's over.
Oh yes.
They were in the wizard lair, and Jerry says he wants Alex to duplicate him so he can take Teresa out,
dancing, but also stay home and watch.
Yeah. So be in two places at once, basically. And did you notice that they looked a little older in that scene?
Oh.
Selena especially.
Was that filmed way after the pilot? That's probably true.
I can't verify that, but just looking at it, it looked like throughout the episode, Selena looked a little bit younger, like she was filming a pilot, right? And then of course, the show gets greenlit.
That's a good point.
And then you film more, and then the show airs, so there's a little bit of time between there. But you look at those last minute or two of that episode, and it looks like she's about halfway through season 1. Yeah. Maybe at the end of season 1, like they went back and shot it afterwards.
Interesting.
Can't verify that, but I was just watching, noticing that there was a quality difference in the camera. And Selena looked a little bit older.
I feel like her hair
style
was
changed.
Her
hair changed. Yeah.
Now that you point that out,
it was still Alex Russo, but it was later season 1 Alex Russo. Can't verify that.
Good catch though. I never would have caught that.
Also, I caught this too during that same scene because Alex duplicates Jerry, and then Jerry, that duplicate, leaves the room. Right?
Yes.
Now, when Alex was duplicated, her duplicate was a zombie basically.
Yeah, she couldn't do anything.
Couldn't walk, couldn't talk, couldn't move. Meanwhile, Jerry's clone was...
He's sending him out dancing with his wife, expecting her not to notice.
Yeah, driving away and dancing. So...
Has Alex gotten better at this spell already?
Well, it makes me wonder if maybe it's up to the person being duplicated. If I were to duplicate you, maybe it would be up to you to control both of your duplicates, right?
And she just didn't care about the other one.
Well, she wasn't experienced enough. Yeah. Jerry had probably either used that spell or had that spell used on him.
Sounds like it.
So many times that he was able to just know how to handle being duplicated. Yeah. I know my duplicate self can go and do this. Well, I can do this. That's crazy. That's why he wanted it to happen. He's like, dude, I've been doing this forever.
Teresa would be so mad if she met
yes. Now, I think that was just a typical sitcom humor. But as far as him maybe going to work and mowing the lawn. I mean, they live in apartments. There's no lawn to mow. But you get what I'm saying.
Yeah,
you can do two things at once, and that's pretty cool.
That is pretty cool.
And when you start thinking about Edgebonoutoosis, well, first of all, the point of that was I just thought it was interesting how Alex's duplicate was. Not animated at all.
No,
was
had no brain.
Was
basically.
Lifeless.
Yeah,
lifeless, and was just. Whereas Jerry's duplicate was perfectly capable of walking around and
That's
allegedly going dancing. So I'm just wondering about the implications of that spell. If maybe it's not about the wizard's experience, if maybe it's the receiving wizard, or I guess in Jerry's case, he's not a wizard anymore. But you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. It also makes me wonder. I mean, I know there's usually counter spells or ways to undo certain things, but they never really talk about how to undo Edgebonoutoosis, do they? Because at the end of this episode, I mean, forgetting the post-credit scene, right? But at the end of this episode, we still have the duplicate Alex just laying on the ground. I'm what happens to her? Do they have a way of making her disappear, or does she just...
Interesting. So the only thing I can think of, the easy answer would be to say that the spell Edgebonoutoosis also undoes it. I think some spells, by saying them again, you kind of undo the other spell.
Yeah, and it's not. I'm sure there's a...
And some spells, I think there's, proton, neutron, get gone, and then proton, neutron, back to 1.
Right.
Which is kind of different.
It's a counter, yeah.
Yeah, like you said, counter spell. So perhaps Edgebonoutoosis is its own counter spell. But we know for a fact that there is something called undo dust.
Yes, that's what I was thinking of. Yes, they haven't learned about that yet.
No. Jerry only...
But Jerry could have sprinkled a little on there.
After everybody went
just
to bed. Exactly.
Clean up their mess.
But no, you're right. That duplicate Alex was just lying on the floor, and it's what do we do with this?
Yeah.
No, you're right. That's kind of funny.
So, if you don't have anything else, I wanted to talk about our favorite quote from the episode. That's something I kind of want to do at the end of each episode, is talk about what our favorite quote was, whether it be something funny or something witty.
I like that. That's a good idea. Yes. Okay. My favorite quote comes from the store manager.
Okay.
Amanda, yeah. And it's when, after everything goes down, Alex, Tornado, Gigi in the jacket, the fighting, spilling, Tappuccino on Gigi instead of on Alex. After all that, Amanda's character whips around the corner and she goes, "These sales get crazier and crazier every year."
I could see her face in my head.
It's her face, it's the line, the dialogue, the delivery, all of it. That is by far my favorite quote of the whole episode.
She's amazing.
The sale gets crazier and crazier every year.
I wish she was in every episode. I would have to say my favorite from this episode is, of course, from Max, when he sat on Jerry's wand and says, "Either I just found Dad's wand, or I cracked my butt knuckle. Butt knuckle.
Butt knuckle."
And Justin says, "I'm no doctor, but I'm fairly certain there's no such thing as a butt knuckle."
I think Justin is correct.
I just think that's gold and absolute classic Max.
Another classic Max. Yeah, no, it's great how many classics there already are in this first episode.
Yeah. This show does a very good job of establishing the character's first episode. Because there's a lot of shows that we watch and that we love that we will either skip the first episode or sometimes even the first season, just because, not because it's not good, but because first of all we've either seen it so many times and we just don't need to see it again, or because the characters really haven't developed into the characters that we end up loving, and so we just kind of want to skip to where they are those fully realized characters. And obviously these characters do grow a lot, but I feel like their personalities are pretty well established in this first episode, and it's a very entertaining pilot.
I agree.
Yeah.
And I think everybody listening can relate to where, you have a show that you love so much and that you followed from beginning to end and with multiple seasons. And then you're like, oh, let's go back and rewatch it. And you rewatch it and it's a lot different than what you remember.
Right.
But no, you're right. This is a great pilot episode. A very strong pilot episode. And I really didn't have anything too much else to talk about except for just a couple fun things. One of them being how this show was promoted, because we talked about how this show was aired October 12th of 2007. And so right around this time, Disney was using Selena in other projects to kind of get her out there. And so, of course, one of the most iconic Disney, other than Alex Russo, the other iconic Selena character on Disney is Mikayla.
Yes, from
Hannah Montana, which is another rival pop star. And so the character Mikayla appeared in the season 2, episode 13 episode, I Want You to Want Me to Go to Florida. That was July 21st of 2007.
Oh, wow.
So just a few months before August, yes, about 3 months.
Okay, so the pilot was filmed and ready to go. It just hadn't aired yet.
Perhaps.
So,
I don't know.
That's what it sounds like. And they're trying to get Selena out there. That's kind of cool. I always thought it was a little earlier than that.
Yeah, so Selena appeared on Hannah Montana 3 months before Wizards appeared.
Yeah.
And then she would appear again on the season 2, episode 18 episode. That's what Friends Are For, and that was October 19th.
Is that the one with the, they're doing the phone thing, and they're fighting? I don't know
Let's see.
Called. Telethon, is that what it's called?
That one might be the Florida one.
Oh, really? Okay.
Maybe, I don't know. I do know what you're talking about,
yes.
though. Yeah.
Some of those insults that they throw back and forth at each other, like Miley and Selena are just, like, they're both so funny and such great comedic actors. So, like, them together, I absolutely loved.
I want to say the episode, That's What Friends Are For, with Mikayla on Hannah Montana was when they were filming that movie with Jake Ryan. And wasn't Selena...
She's in a few episodes.
She's only in those 2, actually. Which surprised. She's only in 2 Hannah Montana episodes that I could find.
Huh.
She was in the one where they go to Florida. Then she was in the one where Jake Ryan filmed the movie.
Yes.
And she's dressed as that alien.
Yes.
But she's also mentioned. Mikayla is mentioned in the one with Barney Bittman.
Yes.
Which is who was Guilford Godfrey's character.
R.I.P.
Yeah. R.I.P. to Guilford Godfrey. Yeah. So his character is the music critic. And he gives Mikayla a bad review, which Hannah likes, but then he gives Hannah a bad review, which Hannah does not like.
Right.
But so no, she's actually only in, I think, 2 episodes.
Gotcha. Wow, my head was so much more.
But they were right around the time that Wizards was debuting, with the first appearance being a few months before, but then the second appearance was a week after Wizards debuted.
Very strategic.
That's
interesting.
Very strategic. And then she was even in Sweet Life.
Yes, she was. It does bother me. It's always bothered me, even though I love her appearance in Hannah Montana. It's always bothered me that she does not sing the Mikayla song.
No, she does not?
It is not her voice. It is so obviously not Selena Gomez. And by that point, they clearly knew that she could sing, because she sang for the Wizards theme song, which was about to air. But for some reason, it's like, it doesn't even sound like a teenager. It sounds like a full-grown, like, 40-year-old woman's voice coming out of this
If Cupid had
teenager's
a heart.
body. Yeah, it's weird.
Yeah.
It's a bummer, because I feel like that'd be such a fun song in Selena's voice.
When did Send to Dawn come out?
Ooh, good question. I would say, like, probably maybe 2009.
Oh, really? Okay, for sure. If nobody remembers that song, go look up Send It On, which is the Jonas Brothers, Demi Lovato, Miley, and Selena.
It's so good. Goosebumps every time.
What a great song.
I'm pretty sure it, like, solved climate change.
It solved climate. It definitely woke our hearts to
I was right, 2009.
Nice. Good for you. Yeah, so she was singing by
Disney's Friends for Change.
Friends for Change.
Aww.
I remember that. Yeah, absolutely. So, all right, well, we're nearing the end of the episode here real quick. I will leave us with one bit of trivia about the show.
Ooh, fun. Okay.
That some of us may not have known. I found out maybe a year or two ago.
Okay. Do I not know this?
I don't know. I don't think so.
Okay.
But Wizards of Waverly Place was originally called The Amazing O'Malleys.
I think I did know this. Wasn't Justin supposed to be, like, the main character?
David Henry was the lead.
Yeah, I mean, not Justin, but David Henry, yeah.
Yes, David Henry was the lead role.
That's crazy.
He was going to play Jordan O'Malley.
O'Malley.
Yeah, I mean, it was still a family of wizards.
Yeah.
But it was going to be...
What's it called again?
The Amazing O'Malleys.
Amazing O'Malleys.
And yes, David Henry's character was going to be the lead character, but Disney started running some tests and realized that at that point in television, it was, youth television, it was mostly a younger female audience that was tuning in as opposed to a younger male audience. So shows like Drake and Josh and Sweet Life were disappearing, and shows like Sunny with a Chance, Hannah Montana, iCarly, Victorious, Good Luck Charlie, Shake It Up, Ant Farm, the list goes on. It's all female-led shows. And so Disney quickly decided to go with Selena.
Poor David.
Poor David.
He's a good sport, though.
I think he was definitely upset by that. But he obviously still got a role in the show. Yeah. An important role in the show. And I think he would even go to direct a few episodes of this show.
Oh, that's right.
Which is kind of cool.
That is right. And I know, obviously, they all became super close over time. Because I don't know if anybody saw, I think David got married a few years ago. Maybe 2 or 3 years ago. And it was so cool to see the pictures at his wedding of, like... David DeLuise and what's the mom's name?
Maria Canals Barrera.
Yes, and Jennifer Stone, who played Harper. Like, everybody just coming back together for that wedding just awesome. Like made my heart so happy. I loved it.
Yeah, so it was called The Amazing O'Malleys. Selena was actually cast, and she was going to be Julia O'Malley.
Okay,
that was her name, but the show was rewritten obviously with her as the lead. She became Alex. Maria Canals was always going to be cast as the mom.
Okay.
In the O'Malleys, and her name was always Teresa.
Okay.
It was just Teresa O'Malley. Thought that was cool that her name, stayed the same, and that character was already cast from the get-go. But I thought that was kind of cool. So if nobody knew that, there you go. The show was originally called The Amazing O'Malleys.
Good piece of trivia.
Starring David Henry. But I think that's going to bring us to a close in the first episode of The Wizards Lair. How do you feel?
I feel great. I'm excited to keep going.
I'm excited too. I hope everybody enjoyed this episode. Be sure to, watch the episode and follow along with us. We're basically watching the show and then talking about it, so,
Yeah, I was going to say that, too, is you don't have to, because we'll try and give you a summary each time, but I highly recommend, if you have a Disney Plus subscription, to watch alongside us. Like, watch an episode and then listen to our episode, because we would have so much fun watching along with you, and point out things that we don't mention, too, because I would love to hear what you guys have noticed that we might not.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we have a lot of fun. We've had a lot of fun over these last couple of years with Disney Plus, talking about the show and the characters, and so we've picked up on all this stuff, but we can't pick up on everything. So if there's something you notice, definitely leave it in the comments. Let us know any theories you guys might have. We love that stuff. We'll read some on the show.
Yeah, and while you're at it, definitely subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on Instagram. What's our at, babe?
The Lizards Wear Podcast. Or
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Did I say the Lizards Wear?
You did say the Lizards
That was, in fact, incorrect. It is not.
I love that.
The Lizards Wear.
That sounds like a clothing store for lizards.
Maybe in the wizard world there is a clothing store for the reptilian wizards called Lizards Wear. But that is not us.
No.
I apologize. Our at is, again, The Wizards Lair Podcast.
We got it.
On Instagram. The Wizards Lair on YouTube. And thank you guys so much for wanting to listen and join in the discussion.
definitely share this with your friends if you know of anybody else who loves this show. We'd love to have more subscribers and have more people joining in on the discussion. Again, my name is Daphne.
And my name is Andrew.
See you next time.